Hey everybody, this is Nathan Lehman at the Ultra Running Company in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I really appreciate you joining us for a shoe review. Today we're actually going to be talking about a pretty exciting new shoe that I think will be overlooked in the market and has been overlooked since its launch about a month ago. It's the Saucony Freedom 4. And let me tell you a little bit about it. In Ultra Running Company parlance, this is what we call a transitionally cushioned, low drop road running shoe. And there are some caveats on that. Just to give you some background, the Freedom has been a shoe that in its fourth iteration has changed quite a bit each time it's come out. The original shoe was unlike anything else on the market. It was one of the first shoes to use these really bouncy, rebounding type rubbers. Kind of Adidas introduced it, some other folks brought it out, and Saucony did a really nice job of introducing what they called Everrun on the Freedom. It had a very wide toe box, it was very lightweight, and frankly we're not sure that Saucony knew what to do with it, because when they came out with the Freedom 2, they kind of took away some of that individuality and made it into a much more normalized upper on the shoe. The cushion was still about the same, but they really made it a little more locked in. I think they probably got some feedback that it wasn't quite as dialed in for racing as some people had hoped. In the third version, they made some substantial changes and with the upper and with the lower, and had some shape issues that we struggled with a little bit. And now they've got a fourth version out, and I don't think, once again, they know quite where to go with this shoe. So let's dive right in. First of all, what do we mean when we say this is a transitionally cushioned shoe? Well, a couple things. What that means is that it has kind of a middle amount of amount of cushion throughout this base layer, this midsole. Specifically, they claim that this is 24 millimeters in the front and 28 millimeters in the rear. Now that would make it a low drop shoe. The drop is quite simply the difference between the amount of heel in the cushion and in the forefoot, and 4 millimeters is pretty low to have an offset when you're going from kind of flat to high heeled. Now when we measured this, we came up with 18 millimeters in the forefoot and 23 millimeters in the heel. We then added in the insole. Now one of the unique things about the insole in this shoe is it's one of the few that we've measured that is actually 0.5 millimeter thicker at the back than it is at the front. So when you add that on, what you get is, just like they claim, it's a lower drop, but it's 22 in the front and 28 in the back. So that's 6 millimeters. For us, it's right on the edge of what we call a high drop shoe. Now, why is the drop important? You'll hear a lot of people talking about it. Quite simply, an efficient runner can run in virtually any shoe out there, whether it has a high heel compared to the forefoot or a flat heel. But as you become less and less efficient, or as you're learning to run, or as you go further distances, and you're not able to keep perfect form, what happens is the shoe comes through and you tend to catch it a little bit in front of your center of gravity. Now it doesn't matter to us whether you strike your heel or strike your midfoot, but it does matter to us that you land under your body. That allows you to have a bent knee. It absorbs some of the shock in your muscles instead of in your joints. So a lower heel makes it more likely that you're going to slide right through and land on that full foot or midfoot, and land, quite frankly, with a bent knee. So as you add more, the difference between 4 millimeters and 6 millimeters still make it a pretty low offset shoe, but it does add just slightly more chance to catch that heel as you come through. So just be aware as you're looking at this. We do measure this slightly with a higher drop than Saucony talks about, primarily because it has a little bit less cushion right here under the balls of your feet than is advertised. So with all that said, what's that cushion made up of? Well, this is the big killer app with this shoe, is that this is kind of the first non-super shoe to come to the market with what they call Power Run PB, and that's an evolution of the Everrun that they introduced. It's one of these highly bouncy materials, but it's also super light. The PB stands for PIBA. It's the same type of material that's in the Nike 4% shoes that Saucony puts in their amazing Endorphin Pro and Endorphin Speed line, but it's now in a shoe that is not wildly rockered like those super shoes. So what you're going to find is a rocker is the amount that it kind of sweeps up at the end. And Hoka really started it probably 8 or 10 years ago when they introduced their highly cushioned shoes. And more recently, all of these super shoes, a lot of just comfort shoes, have adopted this real roll at the end. This is not one of those shoes. This is a more traditional shape. You're gonna land much flatter. More of the work is being done by your foot. But they've added in this PIBA sole, which makes it very bouncy, very energy absorbing, if I can say that. And so it's kind of in a unique spot all to itself. Also on this shoe, you've got a lot of coverage here. It makes it pretty stable. When I say energy absorption, I'm not saying that this is a pillowy shoe by any means. They're able to use this PIBA, probably maybe made it a little bit harder, or a little more firm than in their Endorphin line. And they've given it this nice flat full coverage bottom with very high abrasion rubber. So that means that this is a very consistent, very stable shoe that feels quite low to the ground and feels more traditional than some of these highly rockered shoes. The big difference in this, when you compare it to the Freedom line prior to this, one of the knocks was that they were a little bit heavy. This is not a heavy shoe. This shoe on my foot weighs 10 ounces on a size 13. That's the same weight as the Endorphin Speed and Speed 2. It's only 7/10 of an ounce heavier than their fastest shoe, the Endorphin Pro 2. So it's also an ounce and a little bit more lighter than the last Freedom, even though the stack height and the amount of cushion remains almost identical. So really a huge difference in the weight of this shoe compared to prior versions. We like that a lot. Moving on to the upper, they've kind of gone an opposite direction with this, in that they've added these leather hits around the side, overlays as they're called, and they're seamless in that they don't have sewing points on them, but they're bonded to the mesh upper. You're going to see that throughout the shoe, where you've got either a leather or synthetic leather. I certainly assume it's real. But they've got that bonded on here. They've even got little pieces on the back and overlays. What that does is it adds a little weight, but it also adds protection. It adds scuff resistance and abrasion resistance, and makes this a little bit more durable shoe. Kind of juxtaposing the shoe like more rubber here does. More rubber may wear longer, but it weighs more. Then they have the lightest cushion available. Then they've got a lightweight upper, but then they put on a little abrasion resistance. So this shoe is always seems to be fighting with whether it wants to be a go fast shoe, a casual shoe, or as they seem to be marketing it, more of an athletic training shoe. So for body weight work, this is the kind of thing that you see on shoes where you're doing burpees and that sort of thing. So again, at 10 ounces, this is a shoe you can run exceptionally fast in, and then drop down and do your body weight workout. So it's really unique in the market. As you go forward, it's got a very thin tongue. It's not a one-piece tongue. It is multiple pieces with a little padding, but it comes off as feeling very thin. It's as we've seen in a lot of shoes lately, it's got a piece that goes from the tongue all the way down under the sole, and that's called a gusset, and that really holds it in place and kind of obviates the need for the little strap that you usually see here. Some shoes with gussets keep that. Some shoes with gussets get rid of it. This is a shoe that's chosen to just hold it in place there. You won't see any movement on your tongue from that. It's just going to stay in place really, really well. As you move to the back, just a nice basic heel pocket. It's going to hold you in. It doesn't have a super hard counter, but it definitely is firmer right here. A little bit of flex up here so you're not hurting your Achilles. And as you come through, locks your heel in place, locks over, and gives you a very kind of controlled feeling throughout. It does have quite a taper on the front, and so if you have wide feet or squared off feet, you're going to want to put this shoe on to feel it. It does take away some of the flexibility that existed in past versions of the shoe where they didn't have this overlay, and you'd be able to push out on this really nice accommodating mesh upper. And so it is a little more dialed in, I guess, than some of these wider soled shoes. So with all that said, what do you do with this shoe? For us, this is really a nice not minimal, but a shoe that transmits some ground feel through to you, allows your feet to work out, but still gives you the protection and bounce back that you've come to expect from modern shoes. This is really at the cutting edge of materials, using super lightweight rubbers, super lightweight leathers, nice engineered mesh, and certainly this Peebo, which, as far as I know, there's not a more attractive material on the market. So we've really enjoyed running in this. We've seen a lot of reviews where people find different issues. What we think is that people are getting more and more used to cushioned shoes right now. So it's really kind of nice to see someone break through with a lightly cushioned shoe or more lightly cushioned shoe that still has some really cutting edge benefits to it. So we've enjoyed running in this shoe. We've definitely put it into our mix. Generally speaking, we run in lighter weight, lighter cushioned shoes at the beginning of the week when we're feeling fresh, and then at the end of the week or on long runs we might add a little cushion to it. So this is that great beginning of the week tempo type run. You can run quickly in it, and again, like I said, you can drop down and do some of that body weight work, whether it's push-ups or burpees or whatever you may feel like doing there. So we hope you'll give this a shot, not just as an athletic trainer shoe, but as a legitimate running shoe in the market. All of that technology does add up to a $150 price tag, which, if you're just looking at amount of rubber, might seem like a lot, but when you take into account the technology in this and the benefits that we feel from that technology, we think it's a pretty good buy. If you have any questions on this shoe, we think this is one that will elicit a lot of more feedback from folks, and we hope that it will elicit that, and hopefully we'll answer your specific questions in the comment section. As always, please subscribe to our channel, check us out whenever you'd like, ask questions, we'll try and respond, and learn to love to run.